Okay, if I can have your attention, in interest of time, we need to get underway because we do have two items on our program today. I think both are very important. I know we've got a little inclement weather, and that may be keeping a few people away or causing them to be a little late. I think probably we'll have a few more come in. I really appreciate all of you being here. This is a good turnout, especially in spite of the weather and so forth. Gladys was supposed to leave the pledge today, but she has a sore throat, cough, and asked if she could be excused. So I gave her an excuse, absent, so to speak, and Herb has agreed to fill in for her this time. So, Herb, if you're ready, if you'll come up and lead the pledge for us, we'll get started.
Please stand. American flag, salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, again, welcome, and without any further ado, I'm sure I'll have some comments later and you have some announcements. The one thing I do want to say now, though, is we need pictures for the district of the officers and committee members and committee chairs. So if you can remain just a moment, Tracy is going to take those pictures at the end. And I'll try to remind you again before the program's over. Okay, member benefits. What's in it for me? We have an expert on member benefits who's also a member of our group, and today is his day to fill us in on information that we need to know. So Kevin Mason, would you like to take over, please?
Well, I haven't been called an expert in a long time. You know what an expert is, by the way? It's a little spurt that keeps you. Amen. And you know what? If you want to grow any organization, you've got to understand the WIFM factor. What's in it for me? We've got to teach our folks out there that their benefits are a big reason to be involved in this group because it's good for them. So I want to just take a little time. By the way, Vandria Kendall is back here. Vandria represents AMBA. They do all the Texas Retired Teachers Association's benefits. She's got all the materials back there, and you've got the card in your lap. It's from her. If we talk about something that is of interest to you, and you want some additional information, please fill that out and give it to Vandria at the end of our time together. What we're going to do is have some testimonies. It's really good to know that these things work. Every one of these benefits that I used to offer, I used to do what Vandria does. For many years, 15 years, I represented that group out here. And there's not a person in this room, not even you, whenever I first came, that was coming regular. In 1998, I've been coming every day to this meeting ever since. Ruth Crawford was the president of this group back when I started coming regular. How many of y'all remember Ruth Crawford? Okay. This is a great group, and I'll tell you, your benefits are fantastic. You need to really study. Every time you get this in the mail, quarterly, nearly every time, you'll open it up, and inside it's got a member benefits page. It's right there. Now, this latest one that came out, there was so much stuff stuck in there about the elections and all the stuff that's coming up that they couldn't put it in. But nearly every time you'll see a benefits page. This will pay, in the first use of any of your benefits, it'll pay for your dues. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
It will. So I'm going to right now ask Jean to share with us about, is it vision and dental?
Vision, dental, and long-term.
All right, let me talk about long-term care. You talk about vision and dental. You have it.
The only reason I was going to talk about it is that I was talking to Mark about the vision last year, and I told him how much I pay anyway. He said, what? He said, oh, mine's way much more than that. So for my husband, when we first got it, we've had it a year, almost 2 years, I think. Yeah. It's $139 for the two of us. His is $55 and mine's about $80. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out so you can talk to them.
That was the endorsed long-term care program.
Haven't had to use it yet, but I do have it. I have had the dental since about 2010. I was on my husband's the whole time, so I was never on TRS active care insurance. But when he retired in 2010, he took out the dental because TRS care, of course, didn't have dental. My daughter is still on it. She graduated hopefully in April, so I mean in May, so she won't be on it after she gets a job. But we pay for both that, and I'm on the vision too. We pay about $128 for the dental, and it was about $120 when I first took it. So it's only gone up a couple of dollars. You know, I mean, not many, between $8 and $10 since then. And I've used it a lot this past year. I've had 3 care-rounds, one I'm still working on, and my daughter had to have an apparatus for TMJ. She grinds her teeth at night. They paid the whole price for that first one for $500, and then she had another small one, and since we'd just gotten the other one, we had to pay the entire price for it. But anyway, I've been very pleased with the dental, and they pay 100% of your exam and your cleaning, and then I have to pay the deductible is the x-rays. I mean, it's like $40 when we go. And then the vision, I've only had it for about as long as I've had the long-term care. It's with VSP, the dental is emeritus, but the vision is VSP. And to me, the weird part is you don't have a card, you don't understand that. But you just tell your optometrist or your person you go to that you have VSP. Now, unfortunately for me, the person I've gone to, which is for a long time, I've had trouble with contacts, so I really trust him and I'm going to stay with him. He doesn't take that time. And so, but they did apply $45 toward my exam, so that was better than having to pay the full price. I have gotten a pair, I've gotten contacts. I don't wear the soft ones. I wear the gas permeable ones that come between hard and soft. And so they did pay my entire $175 last year when I got some new ones. And then my daughter wears the soft ones and they pay for hers. You can't get glasses and contacts in the same year, correct? Can't get glasses and contacts. Yeah. And so I did get a pair of glasses, but I paid for them myself because I just needed a new pair. I've had them since the 1980s, so I needed a new pair. But anyway, for those tip in the long-term care, I haven't used it. But for the other two, both the dental and the vision, I like it a lot. I think it's very worth the money.
You got to get this stuff like long-term care before you need it. You understand?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to give a long-term care testimony. I was out here, whenever I was working for United Teacher Associates and AMBA, which took over, I was out here reviewing long-term care policies. I had a list of people that had long-term care in this town, and I was over. And I knocked on the door. This lady in the home's a retired teacher, and she had long-term care. The husband answered the door, and he was rude. Can you believe a man would be rude? He was so rude, but I said, well, I understand that your wife has long-term care. He looked at me and said, what? I didn't know my wife had long-term care. And he said, then he got nicer and he said, come in. So he opened the door, and as soon as I walked in, his wife was 66 years of age, and she had retired at 60, and she had taken the long-term care right before she retired. She'd only had it 6 years. Okay? I walk in, and within 3 minutes, I know she has terrible dementia at 66 years of age. It was so awesome. And her husband said, I'll have to do everything. And then he stepped me back outside because we didn't want to talk in front of her. I said, you have long-term care unless it's canceled. I said, but if she took it with a monthly bank draft, then you still got it. He said, is there any way you can find out? I called the home office and found out they still had a long-term care policy that was paid for her. And it was $100 a day with a compounded inflation rider for a lifetime. She took a Cadillac plan. And because she had taken it on bank draft, she still had it, though she had dementia now. He said, I take care of our bills. I don't know where any of that's coming out. She must have an account I don't know about. Come to find out, she had it coming out of the credit union, teacher credit union's account, and he hadn't even been dealing with that. Thank goodness they had some money going up in there. But her lifetime long-term care benefit was in place. I called right then and got them to send the claims forms. This stuff, if you want to ask what's in it for me, there's one that was very, very glad that they had long-term care for the wife who had onset dementia. Now, what about the cancer programs? I have a very, very good friend. Oh, no, it's really me that took that cancer program years ago. I took it at the 50,000 level, thinking, oh, I'll never get it, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma 6.5 years ago, and they sent me, within 2 weeks of me sending the diagnosis information in from my doctor, I got a $50,000 check. Now, that helped. That helped a bunch. Now, they have lump sum cancer programs, but they also have cancer treatment programs, and she can give you all of that type of information. But let me tell you, you can get a hold of these benefits. They've been heavily negotiated on your behalf by the TRTA. I want to tell you about one other program in way of testimony. 2 different times I've been on cruise ships. Have any of y'all ever gone on cruises?
Yes.
Or gone on vacations like all-inclusives or something like that? 2 different times. I went on a cruise one time, and a friend of mine in the room next to me died on board that ship. We had to get that man off, get his, well, his body goes down into the morgue down below. His widow is now on the ship with her husband's body down below, and she needs to be with family, right? So I decide I will get off the ship with her, and we will fly back to US of A and get her around people that can be loving on her and ministering to her during this time. Now, if she had had the MASA program, which is on your card there, Medical Air Service Association program, that would have paid for that flight back. It would have paid to have that body flown back. It would have paid every bit of the expenses, and that is very, very expensive to you when you're out there and have an emergency and you're traveling like that. Another time, I watched a man have a heart problem on a cruise ship, and a helicopter pulled out. They were still within Coast Guard waters. A helicopter pulls out. I watched them drop a basket down with an attendant in it. He gets out, and he gets that man up in that basket, and they raise that man up to that helicopter. They say that was $30,000 worth of care, just that one experience. MASA would have paid that in total for that thing. You need to look at some of these programs that are spoken of right here in your member benefits section. It's called Medical Air Service Association. About a third of the way down the page on your voice, okay? This was on the last quarter's publication. So I want to encourage you to consider these benefits. They will pay for themselves very, very quickly. You mentioned a while ago, Vandria, that now there is a long-term care or a home health care program that's available through who?
For anybody.
But for what company's underwriting?
It's Kemper.
Kemper, and she said there is no underwriting required for a home health care program.
Yes, it's considered long-term care.
It's long-term care, but it's essentially a home health care portion.
And adult daycare. So home health care, adult daycare, it'll pay, and it gives you, if you take prescriptions, it'll give you up to $250 back every year just because you pay that monthly premium. And the monthly premium is very low.
Okay. So there are some new benefits coming out all the time. That's a new one that I didn't know about. But you've got some great benefits. When you get that card, look on there and say, I would like some more information about that. And write your name, contact phone number on there, and give that to Vandria before you leave, because there's no reason for you to be caught without good coverages. Like I say, the Texas Retired Teachers endorse these programs for you. Nobody can touch the prices. And if you're really, really, really healthy, they've even got some offerings for you. And I say that because if you're not healthy, you better stay with the program that you got pushed over to. You better stay on it, because that's the one that will continue to take care of you. But if you've got real good health, Medicare supplement is there to be had for cheaper prices if you want to check into it. They also have one through AMBA, which is endorsed by the Texas Retired Teachers Association. Any questions real quick about any of these benefits?
I don't have a question, but one thing I forgot to tell you, the vision plan for my family is less than $25. I mean, right at 23, 24
Oh, family.
for 3 people.
Okay.
I forgot to tell the price.
Any other questions, comments? For the whole family? All right, I'm gonna give it over to the next speaker. You to introduce it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Be sure to turn this in to Randy. Thank you.
Okay, last meeting we had, Representative Schaefer was the incumbent for that representative seat, speak to us, and we had a great turnout. We've got another good turnout today. We're gonna have, his opponent, Mr. Ted Campbell, also from Tyler. I was a little remiss in President Schaefer's introduction last week, and so I felt like we already know him pretty well, so I didn't think too much about it. I sense of such a hurry every time we have these meetings, make sure I got everything together, got the copies made for the agenda and so forth, and I got somebody to sign and do various things. And while I'm talking about that, I really appreciate all the work that y'all do with the refreshments and the sign-ins and everything Jan does, Marilyn, Gene, everybody that makes a contribution. Lynn, thank you so much. I don't have to remember to do. I'm not very good at remembering all those little things. You probably noticed that, huh? Anyway, back to our speaker, Mr. Ted Campbell is also a Republican. He has some experience in education. He's been a classroom teacher at Robert E. Lee and I think John Tyler both, and taught several subjects. He served in the legislature, was involved in legislation related to education on UT Tyler School of Engineering, student access to online courses, the Texas Tomorrow Fund. I don't know if y'all participated in that or not, but that was the best investment I ever made. I was just lucky that I had a little bit of money when that came around. And I had 2 children that were about 3 years apart, and my daughter was a senior. I'm a little bit uncertain about that Tomorrow Fund when it first came out, so I didn't invest money in her for her. But the next year, I thought this was like a good thing, so I got it for my son. You know, we were lucky he got a presidential scholarship to TJC, and so 2 years, it didn't cost us anything. And he went to Texas State, and then we used the Tomorrow Fund for that, everything that we paid for it. But I ended up getting about $11,000 back from it. Of course, when you get the money back, if you don't use it for education, you have to pay a penalty on it. So that little penalty, but it's still probably one of the best investment, maybe the only investment I ever made that actually paid off. I have a track record on that. But anyway, back to Mr. Campbell. Talked to Ted and asked him if he'd want to visit with us and give us how he feels about the issues, and he was anxious to talk to us. He also is in business. He has a catering business and I think an accounting type of business where he works with cities to make sure they're doing everything in an efficient way, especially with sales tax and so forth. So he can explain more about that if he cares to. But anyway, he's in business and he had lots of experience, and thanks for coming. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I really want to spend most of the time with you this afternoon, really being quiet and taking notes and answering questions that you have. I don't think you came here just to hear me speak. Most of you know who I am. I am a Tyler native. I was born and raised not too far from here on the old Jacksonville Road in Handbassy in a nice house in good neighborhoods, and got my hair cut right across the street over here on Sunnybrook when I was a kid on a bicycle. Mowed all the lawns pretty much from the Jacksonville Road to Sunnybrook all the way up here to mine, pushing my lawnmower around. I went to Tyler Catholic Schools and graduated from Gorman in '78. I went to UT Austin, got my degree in math from UT Tyler in 1996. While I was a legislator, something about career and family and kids kind of took a pause of my college degree plans during the interim. Got my MBA in business finance in 2006, and I had what I think is the best job I've ever had in my life. It's a company called Uni Services, and we help cities. I have about 140 cities in Texas. We help them find revenue without having to raise taxes, which for a conservative is a pretty cool job. I also have a food service where I'm the great big tent at any festival or anything you see at Murphysville Park. I'm the one that serves all the crazy food. It's pretty much like a pop-up restaurant. It's not really a food truck. It's like a restaurant on the ground. But I enjoy doing that. I've been doing that since 1992. Food is in my blood. I had a restaurant back in the 70s and 80s, and I didn't want to open a full-time restaurant, but I still wanted to do it. So I just do it on the weekends, and I can close it down and go home, not have to worry about all the overhead while I'm not there. So I enjoy being around people. I enjoy communicating with folks. I was on your city council back in the 80s, served a year as mayor pro tem, and then I had a great adventure as your state representative for 4 terms back in the 90s. Education has always been my passion. I was so blessed to be put on the higher education committee for most of my time in Austin, and I worked on issues here at home, first trying to get the junior college and the university to cooperate and work together. So the first bill I passed was a partnership act where they could help students so they wouldn't have to duplicate courses and take them over again. And then I worked on an engineering school for UT Tyler. And then the final piece of the puzzle was to expand UT Tyler to a full 4-year university, but doing it in a way where it's also going to benefit Tyler Junior College. It took 6 years and a lot of input. It really taught me the ropes about the legislative process, not just in Austin, but within your community. Because when I first introduced that bill, this town was evenly divided. Very much so. So I had to bring the community together. We as a group wrote the legislation, then went to Austin and got it passed. And I was proud to have 5 state representatives on the bill with me and 4 state senators. So it wasn't just something I did in a vacuum. This was a unified East Texas effort. I want to go back and pick up where I left off. I would like to see us do what we did for UT Tyler with our health center, our health science center, with a full medical school. We don't have a medical school in East Texas. The medical school would serve an area as large as the state of Vermont. And someone brought up the fact, well, UT Northeast isn't really in District 6, is it? That's kind of ludicrous to even say that when most of the employees and nurses and doctors live in District 6 that work out at UT Northeast. But the service area that it would serve would have a tremendous impact on expanding rural health care, on expanding services to our current hospital, on bringing in students who would learn to become full physicians and get their degrees. And the studies show that over 70% that get their medical degree in that community stay in that community and practice. So it would be a tremendous benefit for us all here, but it takes real leadership and dedication and hard work. And just like the 6 years that it took to what we did for UT Tyler, whatever length of time it takes, you just never give up. You just keep working for your hometown and your community. I also want to work to expand mental health services, especially to veterans, children, those that need the help. I think it's a critical issue in Smith County and in East Texas, and I want to be a part of the solution. And then finally, I'm a strong proponent in reforms. And I know in some of the literature I've read from your association that, a lot of times the big picture of reforming issues that relate to your profession or anyone else's profession, some of the biggest issues, it all boils down to legislative reform. And that's why I am a big proponent of term limits. I carried the term limits before when I was in the House, got the bill to the House floor as an amendment to another bill. And I got 99 out of the 100 votes that I needed to put it on the ballot for you to choose whether you wanted the term limits for state reps and senators and the governor and who else. I'm willing to go back and fight to get that 100th vote. I'm willing to make it a real issue. And more importantly, he said, once we have term limits in Texas, we can turn our sights on Washington, D.C., where you have a class of politicians that are so far removed from the rest of us here at home that they never spend time living under the taxes and the regulations and the laws that they pass on the rest of us. And so, but I cannot be a hypocrite and say I want term limits in Washington, but then I don't want term limits for us here in Texas. When we're surrounded by term limit states, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, the other large states have had term limits for over 20 years. Florida, Ohio, and even California has had term limits since the early 1990s. Now, having said that, I want to take some time and listen to what, take some questions from you on what's interesting you. I will say that the last time I served, that I would go around to schools that many of you taught at. I would spend a day setting up a classroom with a teacher in August. I would spend some time walking around. Of course, everything was staged for the representatives, so everything was great, everything was fine. And then I would think, I know everything about education. Now, when I left the legislature, I still wanted to give back in some meaningful way while I was working on my graduate degree and still be able to take care of my kids. I was a single father raising 3 kids. And so when someone brought up the fact, well, you should use your math degree and get a special permit, a special teaching permit, because I was not fully accredited. So they got me an emergency permit. I taught 2 years at John Tyler and 3 years at Robert E. Lee. The first week at John Tyler, I realized I knew nothing about what it's like to be a teacher in a public school, especially one of the largest public schools in the state of Texas. And I would sit there in the faculty room, which just had the math teachers in it, and I would just stare at these individuals, and I thought the first week, no one in this town realizes the treasure that we have here in this room. It's the best kept secret. That these are the ones that are in the trenches doing all the work and trying to help these kids succeed, and that they're the silent ones. And I was so, at first there was a level of frustration of what I had to deal with day to day. So really, no one came and said, we're going to help you, Ted. It's like, there's your classroom. It's like, okay. So I basically winged it. But I did get a lot of support from the other math teachers. But there were so many complex issues. And I said, man, if I ever went back to Austin, I'm going to take a whole separate set of values and appreciation for our public school teachers. And I loved it. I mean, I loved teaching so much that when they said we need summer school teachers, I was a summer school math teacher, summer 1, summer 2. I did that all 5 years. I was a glutton for punishment. But honestly, my summer school students were some of the best students I had ever had, ever. Well, mainly because they needed to pass. And my Algebra 2 students were absolutely the best of the best. And I didn't give them I gave them the full meal deal. We had chapters we had to cover. I let them know day one, we are covering these chapters. We are going to do complex equations. We're going to do Pascal's triangle, which is in the back of the book. We are going to do these things, and we're going to succeed. And the summer school session, which were basically the sweat hogs, they were, from the old show, you remember that? But we succeeded. I had a sense of humor. I still have students today that talk about Ted's worst math joke of the day. And I won't share any of those with you today. But my 5 years of teaching absolutely supplants anything I did and enjoyed serving in the legislature. That area of public service is, and when I retire from uni services and from food service, I would like to go back as a retirement mode and teach part-time. I have done some substitute teaching for other public school districts since then, and I love doing it. But to me, to be able to teach math really comes comes from the math teacher I had at Gorman that I was fortunate to have a very small school. So your math teacher was your math teacher for 4 consecutive years. And that man, Ken Wilson, still one of my best friends to this day. I was in his wedding when he got married. I helped his son become an Eagle Scout when I was in scouting. But that man meant so much to me because it wasn't just the math he was delivering, it was his passion and his care. And the one thing he told me before I left for UT Austin was just don't go to college to get a degree. Go to college to get an education. And that's something that I try to instill in my students. So having said all that, I would like to visit with you about issues that you care about. That I know that there are some very critical issues on the plate right now. So I'm going to step back. Tell me what you think. Tell me what your thoughts. I'm not going to have all the answers. I'm not going to wave a magic wand. I'm not going to make promises that I can't keep. But I will make commitments that if I'm elected as your state representative. And first and foremost, I represent House District 6. I don't represent any other district. I will not be controlled by a special interest group funded by a multimillionaire from Midland, Texas. And while other school districts and other parts of the state have some serious issues and maybe they need to address things one way, I have to focus my attention on our districts here first. And as a hometown born and raised boy here, that's what I intend to do. So let's take some questions, and they'll just start, and I'm here.
Well, I appreciate the card that you sent that says you're keeping the line of benefit program for us. And I think you're aware that our insurance is really kind of struggling for those of us who retire. And so we really like support in that area.
Okay, let's talk about defined benefit. Why does this keep coming up every 2 years and worrying retired teachers across the state and those teachers that are teaching were, concerned? And I've done a little homework since I sent that letter, and I'm going to tell you what I would like to do. And first of all, you don't have to be on a certain committee to file a bill. Most of the bills that I filed, now the Tomorrow Fund and the UT Tyler, yes, being on the higher ed committee, obviously I had a lot of bills come out of that committee because you're in the game, you got the chairman working with you, those kind of. But I passed other bills that were challenging that came out of other committees because they were the right thing to do. Okay, some of them, like the Texas Timber Act, never sat on that committee. The Castle Law, where you can protect yourself in your home, that wasn't really a bill that people thought Ted Campbell would carry. I don't look like this gun-toting kind of guy, and the Tyler paper was really surprised that I carried that bill. I said, but it came out of a town hall meeting here in Tyler. I had 23 of them, and I thought it was a great bill, so I filed it and carried it. Took 3 terms to pass it, but we got it passed. So I don't have to be on the education committee or on pensions and investments to pass legislation that affects you. I think we need a constitutional amendment that clearly states that retired teachers will have a defined benefit plan, and it's in our Constitution, and no legislator can jack with it from here on out. It's in the Constitution in stone, and that will be it. That will end that, because every 2 years, even when I served, y'all would just be in Austin. He said, we got to change it. There's word that it might change. It's still going on today. And I can understand your frustration. So why not end it? Put it in the Constitution. The only way to change it, you got to ask the voters to amend the Constitution. When it comes to your health care benefits, and I realize that there was supposedly a quick fix that will carry us, it's like kick the can down the road. And it didn't really kick the can down the road. All it did was kick you in the head, effective last month. Well, I think legislators need to we need to set priorities. It's interesting that you're treated as state employees only when it's to the benefit of the state. You see, And, you know, that needs to change. That needs to be an attitude shift. First, it should be attitude, where we're gonna take care of the public employees that have taught millions of children over the decades, and they're the ones building. You are the ones that are helping build the greatest economy in the world here in the state of Texas. But you're not treated as such. And so, you know, I have a different attitude. I was pretty much with you before, but now I can say I've been there, I've done that. 5 years was just barely what you put, the years you put in, I understand that. But it was a great experience for me. And so I have a different attitude. And I'm going to make a commitment that, you know, I might not get all the legislation that I want, that I'm going to file. But generally, when I file a bill and I put my name on it, it's not just something for show. You know, the UT Tyler bill, when I first introduced it in 1991, a lot of folks in this town thought it was just for show. It packed the room out. It was a great chamber day. The Moore Middle School choir sang. It was like you thought the bill had passed. And everything. He's just doing that to show off. No, they put a lot of pressure on me. Now I got to go deliver. So when I say I'm going to file a constitutional amendment for defined benefit, I am. When I say that I'm going to file a bill to at least get you caught up a little bit, and this bill will be a 2-year bill, not just one, because it's been a while, maybe 10 years since you had a 13th paycheck. I'm going to file a bill for 2 13th paychecks for 2 consecutive years. And I understand that it only takes between 2 and 4 days worth of interest. So it's not going to be a cost to the taxpayers. 2 to 4 days worth of interest in a fund that has, what, $40-something billion in it? And it's not something unusual that has never been done. You've been given 13th paychecks before. So it's not something that, oh, he's crazy, he can never do that. That's totally financially impossible. No, it's been done before. So it needs to be done. And in light of the way that you've been kicked in the head here recently, we should do it for 2 consecutive years, at least give you something. But long term, we need to come up with a different way to fund your health care. And it shouldn't, it needs to be changed. So it's not all calculated on how many teachers are currently teaching and all those. The formulas need to change. I'm willing to put everything on the table and work with other legislators to change the way we fund health care for our retired teachers. And I was wrong, it wasn't 40 billion, it's 143 billion. So 2 to 4 days worth of interest, I think we can afford that. The other thing that I would like to say, it's like legislators are part-time. We serve part-time, which is a good thing. That means we come home. But we also serve really 24/7. Because the state legislators, even in their districts, we had full-time, we read full-time. It never ended. Even when I was on my job, I had calls, I had things, I had meetings, I had commitments. But what retired teachers need is a full-time representative in TRS that can be your voice, someone that you can go to, someone that can be your advocate. And I'm willing to file legislation for an ombudsman for the retired teachers within TRS. And I think it's a long time coming, and I would be willing to work with other legislators to get that. And what you do on a bill like that, before you file it, you go and get, this is the type of bill that I can get 30, 40, 50 co-sponsors to. Get them to sign the bill before you file it. That builds up the speed. That builds up, that puts the train on the tracks, hopefully, at least to get it through the committee process. Especially if you can get folks that on that committee to sign on, then they've got skin in the game. They want to help you get it passed. Nothing gets passed in a vacuum. You cannot say, if you can't get your bills passed, I say look in the mirror. Because you haven't gotten enough people on board. You haven't figured out the calculus. You haven't built the bridges. And sometimes you have to work within the system. The way to do that is to build a team around your bill so you can get it through the process. And you can't blame a speaker. Now, because everybody, I don't know if y'all remember Ted, but when I was a freshman, he was the only one to vote against an indicted Speaker of the House. Now, he was indicted, and that's why I voted against him, because I ran on strong ethics reform. And I couldn't possibly vote for him and stand for strong ethics. We passed the strongest ethics bill in Texas history. That's what created the Texas Ethics Commission, came out of that session. But I thought others were going to vote with me, but when I pressed my light and it went red, I wasn't about to go change it. Go, oh no, I'm not going to be the only one, you know. And my dad was standing there, and my kids were standing there. Everyone was like, look, the light is red. It's the only one. The Christmas tree was all green. So I had voted against the speaker before. When I got national press, because I voted against the most powerful speaker in Texas history, I didn't want all that. I just wanted to go do my job in Austin. But it was something I didn't ride the entire session. I didn't keep beating the drum. No, I had work to do. I still got 3 bills passed my freshman term, which is about the average for a freshman. So it wasn't like I was put in a box and isolated. The other bills that I passed during my 4 terms, there was only 58 to 68 Republicans out of a House of 150. So I passed those laws that we talked about today, and many more, when I was in the minority. When the speaker was a Democrat, when the chair people were Democrats, I was in a completely different environment that's down there today. So I look at the situation today and go, and this would be a piece of cake for me to get the Texas Tomorrow Fund passed, and for me to get the timber that day, because I would have a much more friendly political climate than I did at that time. But what I said at that time is that I didn't want a legacy of almost getting the job done, and then blaming everyone else because I couldn't get it done. I didn't want to come home after 8 years and say I couldn't get the UT Tyler bill passed. It wasn't my fault. No, I took responsibility the day I filed the bill. So when you file bills to help, like, retired teachers in your district, you have to be committed. And regardless of who the speaker is, regardless who the chairman is, regardless of whatever you want to talk about, it's up to you, the man in the mirror, who put his name on the bill, to passionately work day in and day out and figure out how to do it. And if you don't get it passed this time, you'll get it passed next time. A lot of times I figured out that when you wait till the next time, the bill gets a little bit better. You've got a little bit more input, the bill becomes strengthened. And you also build a little bit more momentum. People begin to understand, and they begin to talk about your legislation. The best bills that pass to get to the governor's desk don't necessarily pass in one session. It takes 2 or 3. And as some chairman told me many years ago, said, Campbell, your law, I don't see how your law has survived the 100-something years of our state's of our statehood without having your law. In other words, he put me down here, you know, like, there'll be another day we can survive without your law for 2 more years. Who else has something to talk about?
I have a question about vouchers. I think
Well, I mean, my background, you know, I was, like I said, I was born and raised in the Tyler Catholic school system. I sent my children to the Tyler Catholic school system through middle school, and I gave them choices. Unlike my parents, I gave them a little bit more flexibility. Two of them chose to go to Brookhill. My daughter was in the first graduating class at Brookhill, so I was very proud of that. Another daughter went from 8th grade to Hubbard because I loved the math teachers there. And I said, now if you're going to go to Hubbard, you've got to take that test so you can take algebra in the 8th grade. And she had to take it 3 times, but she did, and she passed it, and she did quite well, because she had a very loving and caring math teacher that knew that Daddy would make sure her homework got done. And then she went on and graduated from Robert E. Lee. So I'm a proponent of choice. I helped the Sadler-Ratliff reforms in the 90s that opened up choice for parents to send their children to other public schools. to open the door to charter schools. I think we have some wonderful charter schools here in Smith County. We have some wonderful private schools here in Smith County. One thing that I will attest to, that in all the years that I served, because I got feedback, because I was on the campus at Grace and All Saints and Gorman and Brook Hill often, is that they wanted me to understand that they did not necessarily support vouchers, because with the vouchers came the mandates. And they pretty much wanted to be left, Ted, whatever you do, don't hurt us. Don't pass legislation that hurts our mission and our role in our community. And I've got to be careful supporting legislation that might benefit inner city children in maybe Houston that are stuck in some very low performing public schools, and maybe vouchers might work for them. But I've got to look after my schools. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. I am state representative for House District 6, which includes Bullard ISD, White House ISD, and Chapel Hill ISD. And before I served, because lines moved, the last time I served also had True Park and Lindale ISD. So basically, I really served all the school districts in Smith County, because a lot of those parents and teachers live in the district, whether the school districts are physically in the district or not, are inconsequential to me. Those are rural school districts, and in the plans that I have seen, I saw when I was serving, and I've seen since in the last 20 years, could have some drastic financial effects to those rural school districts here in East Texas. So I have got to listen to those that know what they're talking about. I have to get input before I support anything that's going to hurt our public schools. That is we've already gone, the last time I served, we were funding 58% public education from Austin. We're down to 37% now, which means the greater share is now coming from the local school districts, which means the property taxpayers are picking up the burden. Even in the last budget that was passed last session, written into the budget, they admit that they expect school property taxes to increase about 6% this year and 7% next year. They've already admitted that they're accounting for a 14%, almost a 14% increase in school property taxes. Well, to me, that's wrong. I'd like to see get that number back up into the 60s. It's hard. It's not easy. But in 97, when I left, the budget was around $80 billion. I'm going to say when I was a freshman, the budget was $57 billion. So in just 8 years, the total state budget went from 57 to 80. Like, man, that's a lot of new money coming in. Man, it's now $220 billion, but we've gone from 58% to 37%. Some of these priorities are wrong. Where's this education money going? The formulas are so difficult to understand. School districts have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to hire consultants just to come in and explain how to maximize their funding so they get the most bang for their buck per pupil in the classroom. So I hope that answers the question on vouchers. We have a lot bigger fish to fry when it comes to reforming how we fund public education, how we take care of our teachers. And, those are real issues. Those are the front burner issues that, in our state constitution, and I hold my hand up, put a hand on the Bible, I swear to uphold the U.S. Constitution, the state constitution. There's an article in the state constitution that I think a lot of members don't read, that we are sworn to provide for the public free education of our children. It's not an option. It's a priority. And the number one priority that we have as legislators in our budget is to fund education. I don't mean just throw more money at it and just, well, we're doing a great job because I just gave you that much more money. That's not what I'm talking about. We can reform how we spend those dollars, but let's set the academic standards and then let's fund them. And let's try to get as many of those dollars, as close to 100%, which could never happen. But let's get that directed to the classroom and the teachers that are teaching those kids. And classroom instruction should be the #1 priority in public school finance. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about, it may not affect a lot of people in this room, but teachers who are fully vested in the Social Security system before they are fully vested in the teacher retirement system, receiving that penalty. How's that go? 20 years in one career, 28 years in another career.
Right. Well, and that's going to take legislative approval from Congress to correct that. That's a federal issue that affects all 50 states, but that doesn't mean that your state legislators can't do something about it. Just like my push is for eventually to have term limits in Washington. Well, two things we can do: get our house in order and get term limits here in Austin, get public school finance, take care of our retired teachers, make that a priority where we become a beacon state, so when we do shout loudly to Washington and we work with our congressional delegation, they begin to realize that we have the folks on our side. We want change. That this has been talked about since I took office in 1991. Still has not changed. And so sometimes these ideas has to start at the bottom, at the grassroots. Well, the grassroots is the retired teachers and their legislators. And don't tell me that the legislative delegation in Austin, they do have a relationship with the congressional delegation in Washington. We have to make our voices heard. We have to insist that they come and visit with the retired teachers, that they have the town hall meetings. I don't understand why elected officials don't show up to forums and debates and things during elections. To me, that's just part of the process. But I kind of took it one step further after I was elected. I enjoyed all those forums so much in 1991, debating and discussing and just taking random issues that 2 weeks after I was elected, I hadn't even been sworn in, I had a town hall meeting at the Central Jury Room in Tyler. I said, I really like this. I really feed on this. This is kind of cool. Sometimes you take questions you don't necessarily want to answer, but that kind of format, well, why don't our state legislators and congressmen do that and do it often? I see it in other parts of the country. I see congressmen taking some really hard, sometimes it's not good when they get shouted down and protested. That shouldn't happen. There should be some civility to it. But those town hall meetings brings it home. It makes it real. It makes the congressman understand that what you're doing and what you're not doing, like the Social Security fix, has real impact on people's lives. And I understand what you're talking about. I understand the issue now more than ever, especially after being a teacher, of listening to teachers talk about, well, when I retire, I'm going to lose all the Social Security that I paid into before I became a teacher. You start listening to those issues right there in the faculty lounge. So it's not political anymore. It's real. Who else? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's a big thing about the testing, cost of testing and everything else. And that's a lot of money going towards. I agree that I think kids need to be tested. I'm not going to say that they don't. But it's the cost of the publishing of these tests and the grading of these tests that have a lot of money going out of Texas to some of these corporations. Where is teaching?
Let me explain. You have this appropriations, including public education. So when they started talking about testing in the 80s, the companies that profit from that came out of the woodwork. And then they hired some very expensive lobbyists to get this in the bills and that in the bill and this and this and that. Because we care about the kids and they should be valuable. No, what you want is a piece of that education pie. That's what you want. I was there, I was doing the testing. And let me tell you, the math teachers, now God bless the English teachers and all the in social studies and science, yes, but nothing was more hard.
Thank you very much. I
We-
just got finished doing a long-term course. So,
Yeah, we were-
you guys who taught math, I have a lot of respect for you.
The math teachers, when it comes to these testings, we were called in by the principal, we were given, you will make sure that these kids, it's like, we can't even get them to pass a regular chapter test. We're doing everything we can. We're not doing enough. And one math teacher goes, I've got a baby to bathe at night. I can't make 40 phone calls a night to parents, which is what her average would have been in a given week, Monday through Thursday, if she had to do everything she was told she had to do to get that child to pass. And then they would send you, we're going to send you to all these classes during your, what do they call this, during your, when the kids were out, it was called,
In service?
yeah, in service. What in service? So they hire these people, pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're going to come in and teach you how to teach the test on your TI programmable calculator. So the kids can pretty much do the whole test on the calculator. But what kind of learning is that? You put the 2 points in, now you can compute the slope, you can draw the line, you can pretty much do everything you want to sign your name. Why can't you just download that onto the test and see the student doesn't even have to write anything? And this was a good tool to use to teach the kids so they could visualize. And I always wanted the calculator to give them a tool to check their work so they could go, oh, I really did find the slope. Yeah, I did it. I did it by hand because I always required you showed your work or you got no. I was like, on all my tests, do not show your work, you get no credit. You can cheat over here all you want, write all the answers, but you get no credit because you didn't show your work. This gave you a chance to show, to validate, and pat yourself on the back. Hey, I did it right. That was the biggest frustration. I particularly like Performance Plus because, not Performance Plus, what did you call it? The benchmark test. The benchmark test gave you benchmarks during the semester that really measured whether the student was learning those concepts you were trying to deliver to them. So I do believe we do need testing and evaluation. There needs, but we need to bring it. It's gone to such an extreme that that's all we're doing is teaching the test, and there's so much pressure put on to getting those test scores. Because that's how that school gets the grade and gets this and gets that and gets hammered over the head in the press. But that doesn't necessarily mean that just because that senior passed that test, that they can walk over to TJC and take college algebra. Because they got to take a test over there to see whether they can take college algebra or not. And there is a record number statewide that are taking remedial math classes at our community colleges at a tremendous, enormous cost to taxpayers. They're basically going to college to take high school math and English over again. Now, I talked about these issues when I served before. I'm kind of talking about them from a different perspective because I've been at the blackboard where I put my chalk down. Someone in the front, Mr. Campbell, what's wrong? And I go, I thought I was hired to teach math. Some days were absolutely glorious. Some days were just very frustrating because we weren't getting the backup support that we needed. I think the teachers had a lot of creative ideas. We have a record number of substitute teachers teaching in our classrooms in Texas. Why? Because we cannot find qualified, certified teachers to fill those positions full time. And when you have teachers, like especially in math, which are very highly skilled, they have good, strong degrees, they teach 4, 5, 6 years, and then they change professions. They're not staying in it for 20 and 30 years like they used to. Because they can go work for an engineering firm. They can go and get a master's degree and go work for a large company doing financial work or something like that. Really, their passion was to teach. That's what they wanted to do.
think that, Carol, so how do you gonna work hard, I mean, how are you gonna get this on board with other legislators?
Well, I don't think it will be easy. But I think there's others that share that there should be. And once you start educating and visiting with other legislators, they did this 10 years ago. This is not a new concept. They've done this before. Cyclically, they have bonus teachers with that 13th paycheck before. So it's not a new thing. It's not out of the ordinary. It can be done. We just need your support. And once you file a bill, a lot of times the support for that bill comes out of the woodwork. So it's not necessarily my job. My job is to work with other legislators, but I guess what happens is that retired teachers in other districts read about the bill being filed and they start visiting with their House members. And suddenly they start coming up to you, Mr. Campbell, where is that House Bill 160? I would like to sign on to it. So I can tell the retired teachers back home, I'm on board. That has happened to me before on other important bills that got attention in the grassroots. Members would come to me before, I might have, some bills I hadn't even filed yet. I don't have any filed yet. I don't have a bill number yet. And they wanted to know just because they heard the bill was being filed. So, I mean, that's my job. And it's not an easy job. You have 140 days to get it to the governor's desk. And I'm saying that when we really you take away about 2 weeks of that, because there's a lot of pomp and circumstance on the side of the House, before you begin to start having committee hearings and you get organized and you start doing the people's work with legislation. Then you got to pass the Senate, and you got back and forth, and to get it to the governor's desk. It's meant to be that way. We file about 6,000 bills every session. You don't want 6,000 bills getting to the governor's desk. It's meant, and that's what people complain, I couldn't get my bill out. It's not meant for you to get your bill out. You have to jump through all the hoops. You have to do more work. You have to stay up and burn the midnight oil. You have to do whatever you need to do. If your bill is worthy of getting out, it gets out. It will happen. But if you don't do the work, it's not meant to happen. Your bill was meant to die the day you filed it. Dead on arrival. Now, what are you going to do about it? The clock is ticking. As soon as you take that oath of office, the 140-day clock is ticking. So will it be easy? No, it won't be easy. But if I put my name on it, I'm not just going to sit back and go, oh man, this will look great in the paper. They're going to love me for this. No, I think you would scorn me if I didn't do anything in my best to get it passed. Within reason, of course. Yes, ma'am.
So, been out of politics for a while, and so what brought you back? What was your passion to come back?
God, that's a great question, because I hear that question everywhere I go. And I do have some literature that explains why do I want to go back? Well, first I want to go back to get the medical school. I think it would have a huge impact. The UT Tyler 4-year camp, that has between a $4 and $6 billion economic impact on our economy. And you can see it, it's happening. The medical school will have an equal impact on jobs, on bringing folks here, on it will raise the boat, even with education overall. You're going to have students aspiring to want to go to medical school or to get medical degrees. And it's not just the medical school I want to do. I want to expand our workforce degree programs, not only at our community college, but also I want to bring more college into the classroom, into high schools. The best model in the whole state is Brownsville Independent School District, where they have about a 96% poverty rate. Students that fall into the poverty. They have the highest graduation rate in the entire state of Texas because their collaborative effort, we're doing pretty good here, but their collaborative effort with their colleges and community colleges down there, they have tackled it. They said, forget Austin, we're going to take care of Brownsville. And they have unbelievable. We need to expand industrial arts in our schools. You can get a 2-year healthcare workforce degree that pays $80,000 to $100,000. That ain't too bad. I want to focus on some workforce degrees where you can get a college degree for $10,000 or under. You don't have to spend $50,000 to $100,000 to $150,000 and go deep into student loan debt to get a good paying job. You can get these programs now that you can do for $10,000 or under. It depends on what you want, what area that you're. So the medical school will help tremendously. The mental health services thing, really, I had a friend whose son committed suicide, and that got me thinking. He was around my son's age, and that got me thinking that not all is well. That's what you see as somebody, that doesn't mean that they're happy. It doesn't mean everything is right. And then the opioid things that are going on in the veterans, I have talked to a vet that takes 15 different pills a day for his pain and his post-traumatic disorders. They need help. That's why I want to go back. Overall, I honestly think that our district is not getting effective representation. We have a state representative that is literally bought and paid for. And I have studied this for years. And when he first ran, I'm going to be honest with you, I sat down and had coffee with him. I wrote him a check. I backed him. I endorsed him. Wrote a letter to the editor. I said, "You're the man. You are it." And he immediately disappointed me by taking all this money from this group called Empower Texans. And I started to do my homework. And it's a PAC that's funded by a man that's worth about $800 million out of Midland, Texas, who wants to go down as the George Soros of Texas politics with a Steve Bannon bent. And he has bought, you hear about this Freedom Caucus in Austin that has about 10 House members. Well, those are his 10 bought and paid for House members.
And our members,
It's not a Freedom Caucus. It's a Tim Gunn Empower Texas Caucus. It's a travesty. He owns these House seats. They vote only the way he tells them to vote. Our state representative has...
That is not true.
Our state representative
I
has...
work for Representative Schaefer. That is not true.
Am I answering the question, or am I being interrupted? Our state representative has a 100 rating with Empower Texas. Why? Because he votes and co-sponsors and does every single thing he's told to do. The state representative from Midland is Tom Craddock. He's a conservative. I met him. He's the most conservative senior member of the House when I served. Tom Craddock is the longest serving conservative Republican in the Texas House even today. He was elected the first conservative Republican Speaker of the House in almost 150 years when he was Speaker. So he's not a liberal, guys. He's very conservative. Very. He chaired our conservative caucus. He chaired the Republican caucus. His credentials are definitely there. He lives 3 blocks from this millionaire. He ain't a Tim Gunn supporter. He has a 58 rating with the same group. Ours has 104. Why? Because he will not sign on to all those bills. He will not. He says, I have to represent my district. That's what Ted Campbell will do. I will represent my district. I will not have a 100 rating with that group and that group and that group. My goal is to try to have as close to a 100 rating with this group. Tyler Smith County District 6. This is where it matters here. And anyone that gives you a check for $89,000, and that's just one check. There have been many more. And every day they fill your mailbox. I got one yesterday from Empower Texan, singing the praises of our state. They pay for that. And every direct mailing costs, what does it cost? $8,000, $10,000 to drop all that junk mail? Okay, they pay for all that. They have you bought and paid for. Anybody and anyone who knows anything about anything knows that when you get that much money, you owe somebody something. They pick up the phone, you're going to run and answer the phone. They say, Tim Dunn's on the phone. Well, tell them I'm busy. No, give me the phone now, quick. I'm just bringing it home to you, folks. That's why I'm running. We haven't had a state representative. The guy in Midland has our state representative. It's time for us to bring back someone real, someone here, local, and then hold me accountable. Look at who gives me contributions. I've never been big. I worked, in the food business, at Catfish King, and I'm not really good at asking people for money. I'm just not. I'll be honest. I never was good at it. When I served before, it cost me $30,000, $40,000 to run an election that others spend $200,000, $300,000 for. I just don't raise money that well. But I do get my yard signs done. And I do knock on doors. And I do what I need to do. And I will say on election day that I did everything I could do to win this election. Knowing so well, we had $200,000, you could have won this election. No, because the last guy that ran against my opponent spent over $200,000 and he got 37% of the vote. But I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. I'm on this thing, y'all know I run races on the weekends. I have one this Saturday in Dallas. It's the second time. It's a fun race put on by the engineers in Dallas to raise money for their scholarships. So, and I run every day. Instead of running, I now walk, and my goal is to do 10K a day, which is 6.2 miles a day. But I hit the neighborhoods. I have on my running shoes, and I do a little fast walk pace, and I get my miles in that way. And that's my goal. And that's what I'll do when I leave y'all here, God willing, as long as it's not raining. So that's why I want to go back to Austin. You know what? It's not about Matt. And this election is not about Ted. This election is about Tyler and Smith County. And it's about time that you have a real voice. And it's about time that you have someone that just doesn't come to visit with you. I'll come to visit with you anytime. Anytime you ask me, if I'm in the district, my staff will make sure I'm here.
Any more questions? That's probably... Okay, thank you, Mr. Campbell. We've got a few more things on the agenda here. I had something I was going to comment on. I'll save that for another time, though. I will say that, we don't endorse candidates. Just bring in information. We are making a special effort to encourage you to get out and vote. And we have there's some information on early voting on the back table if you need it. You can find it on the internet. If you know somebody, you don't know for sure if they've got a ride to the polls, call them. We've talked about offering transportation, and last time I met with the officers recently, and Marilyn Williams agreed to be sort of the coordinator of that. So if you need a ride to the polls, or if you know somebody that needs a ride to the polls, get them in touch with Marilyn, and she may not give them a ride, but she'll get in touch with one of us who can do that, whatever time it might be.
Or if you were someone who would be willing to take someone to the polls.
Yes.
Awesome.
And if you are, then let Marilyn know, please. Anyway, we don't, like I say, we're not, TRTA is not going to endorse any candidates, but as you know, our leadership has been encouraging us to vote in the Republican primary, because that's where the decisions are made. You may be a diehard Democrat. I'll say I'm a Democrat. My daddy's family, my daddy grew up in houses, his daddy was a tenant farmer, grew up in houses with dirt floors, and made it through the Depression, and most people were Democrats. But something has changed. I won't go into that. But anyway, I've been voting in the Republican primary the last several years because, around here, that's the only place you have a choice, you have a voice. That may change, but I think it's healthier to have a two-party system than a one-party system. But what we have right now is a one-party state and a one-party county. But if we don't vote in that primary, then they're not going to listen to our voice. Now, I will say, if somebody in Austin files a bill for 13th check or whatever in our behalf, they will get a huge amount of support from TRTA. And I think our organization is pretty good at that. But a lot of things happen or don't happen in the legislature or in the Congress because nobody will take it and lead and carry the ball on it. That's what has to happen for things to happen in those processes. There are lots of pressures in these bodies to do things that, there's a lot of money being spent to get them done. And, we don't have that kind of lobby. We have a good lobby. We have a good organization. And they've done some great things. But anyway, that's just, and same with that Social Security situation that Pam brought up. It's unbelievable that can exist this long, that kind of discrimination can go on and nothing be done about it in Washington. It's incredibly unfair, and anybody can see that nothing's done about it. Year in, year out, nothing's done about it. Bill gets filed, nothing happens. So anyway, I'll move on. I'm taking too much time. I didn't need to do that. We have, Marilyn, do we have any new members to recognize?
I don't think we have any new members. Have we had anyone to join since our last meeting? If not, we have potential members. We have two. One of them left, Pam Burrell, but we have Paula Jackson. Would you stand up? She's a potential, so we'll wrap our arms around her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Paul, thank you for coming today. We have, you have in your hand, hopefully, a copy of the minutes from the last meeting and treasurer's report. Notice I did not forget to get the minutes copy. So, are there any questions or no questions about that? Okay, no questions on the minutes of the treasurer's report? Going once, gone? Okay, birthdays. Jan, was you?
We're going to do February and March and July. Because we won't
February,
be
March, and
in
July. Have a birthday.
We won't be in Kevin running up there.
July. Lay it on. Hey, July. No, I'd like to love Hey, look right over here so you can smile at the camera.
Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Take notes.
The next meeting is at the Museum of Art over on TJC campus. I was in charge of getting that together. They have two exhibits. One's called Sticks and Stones and one's called Best Friends. There's no charge, but the Best Friends one's evidently is about like animals. And so they are suggesting a $2 donation and they will give it to the SPCA. So anyway, you'll get more about that, but I'm just kind of giving you, and if you want to get on their website to look up to see if you're interested in coming, that's the information is on there.
Is that going to be 2 o'clock?
Yes, it'll be, I was going to suggest that we get there about 1:45 so we can kind of get started at 2.
Okay, and that's on March
That's on-
13th, out of Museum of Art. So remember, maybe a small donation for the exhibit about the Best Friends.
Mark, if anybody filled out that card for AMBA, the benefits, if you wanted more information about any of that, please turn that in back here at Evandria. You really will not be taking care of yourself if you don't look into these benefits, okay?
Thank you, Kevin. I got a couple more announcements, so bear with me just a moment. You probably you should have got an email about the TRTF Beginning Teacher Scholarship Assistant Grants and the classroom assistance grants. And those, if you know someone, those are, I printed off applications and made a few copies. I didn't print off enough for everybody, but I knew everybody wouldn't take one. But those are available, and they've asked us to help promote that. So if you know someone who needs that or qualifies for that, the application is an instruction on one side, saving money again, I print on front and back. So the explanation's on the front and the application form on the back, but it's also on the internet, and I think I'll put the address under the announcements here.
I have a friend in Bullard who teaches science, and so she wants to get this thing for her classroom, and so I told her about it last year, which was after the fact. And so I just forwarded her the email, the TRTF email, and so that can work too, so that she could apply for it.
Oh, great, yeah, that's a great idea.
If you got
Thanks
it.
for mentioning that. That's another way for us to stay in touch with active teachers and let them know who we are.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's on, it should be.
It's important that you have children or grandchildren, because some of that is
Yeah, if you know anybody who's active or can qualify for one of those, please contact them and get the information to them. We still need volunteer hours turned in to Susan. Deadline quickly approaching, so we get that done if you haven't already. Anybody have any questions or comments? Again, we don't endorse candidates, and probably in the fall we'll have when the regular election comes, we'll have whoever the Democratic Independent, whoever, and Republican nominees, candidates, will have them come and talk to us in the fall. But remember, right now it's the primaries, and that's coming up right away. I did not copy the information for the regular primary date. I just copied the information for the early voting. But if you have any trouble finding out what to do about that, where to go or when to go, please contact me. I'll help find it. Be glad to discuss it. My personal feelings about anything, but I'm not going to recommend anybody, from this position to either vote for or not vote for. We do remember the officers, committee members, pictures as soon as we adjourn. Any other questions or comments?
If you're an internet person, I'm not very much, but you can actually Google Texas primary, and if you want to know who's running for, we're talking about just the local races, but we also have other races that we need to make sure we are taking care of. You can find out who those candidates are, and then find out more information about them. So you can take it.
I'll try to send a reminder out with a link to that website if I can find the time to do it.
Another good source is vote411.org. You go in, you put in your address, it will bring up all the candidates.
What's the address?
It's vote, VOTE 411.org, and it's sponsored by the League of Women Voters nationwide.
Vote411.org.
It's very good. It gives their background information and everything. Yes.
His background, and they've answered specific questions.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up. Anything else? What have I forgotten to?
I don't talk about this, Texas for public education.
We've talked about that before, but
Okay. I have pamphlets here, and we're getting to be a pretty good group, pretty big group. When I started, there was 5,000 members, and now we have over 20,000. And we are a block voting group. We are nonpartisan. That's the main reason why we're saying about the Republican primary. After that, then you can vote in the Democratic too. It's just to get past our primary. One of our main goals is getting Mr. Patrick out. And we do have a very good candidate for him. And then after we can do that, the general election is you can vote in the Democrat. There's some very good people running on both sides.
We've talked about that group before. How many of you have looked at the website for Tennessee Board of Education or looked at the Facebook page? If you haven't done that, you
Are
need
you
to do
a member? Oh, good. Did you get invited to a supper?
So, anyway, she can follow up for with that information. She's right
Yes.
here. She has some efforts about Texas Public Education. Tracy, you have a question? Okay, we're running a little bit long. I apologize for that, but I think we got some important information. Hope to see you in March.